What is up, everybody? You know, I always start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. First is my friends over at Company Cam. Going to scroll down and let their website do the explaining for me. Four of the biggest things they help businesses accomplish is going to be documentation, organization, accountability, marketing, and sales. So, documentation, they're going to be able to give you photo reports, video capture, photo annotations, offline mode. All of us know, depending on the CRM that you use, it sucks when you're in that area, you have no reception, and you're trying to close out an invoice for a customer, and you can't do it because you have no service. And some of them have built this offline mode so that you're still able to do that stuff. And then when you get service, it just automatically connects. Company Cam has that, as well as document scanning, report templates, and global search. As far as the organization, they're going to be able to give you photo tags, project labels, project contacts, document storage, integrations, project map, metadata stamps, and Chrome extension. Accountability, we'll try to run through these. Comments, signatures, at mentions, project timeline, assign users, full team access, and user permissions. If you guys don't remember, Company Cam does all these things. It's an add-on. It's an extension to any of the CRMs that you are using. And it is amazing. It puts all those work photos and all this stuff in its own separate app. So you don't have all these stupid work photos on your personal phone, having to look through them and delete them to try to find your family photos or the memories that you want to find. This thing is absolutely amazing. And it also helps you more professional, how you communicate with the customer. And it's also going to give you high-res photo and videos that you can now use to put on your website or to be able to show customers the kind of amazing work that you do. And it's going to be a good-looking image that you can put up and use for all those kind of things. So remember, you can go to www.companycam.com/HVAC Uncensored, and they will give you a free 14-day trial. Try it out for free. If you don't like it, it's no harm, no foul. If you do, they will give you 50% off your first 2 months for being a part of HVAC Uncensored Nation. All right. With that said, let's go on to the next one. We got three tonight. Had to cough real fast. You guys know I want to take care of you. Let me change your socks. My friends over at Camel City Mill. I told all of you, man, like we're always so worried about boots, and we should be. I get it. We're on our feet all day. You're in the field. You got to have comfortable boots. But what about these BS socks we put on our feet to, I know me speaking personally, my feet would be so wet when I got done, they'd make my boots smell like Bigfoot's asshole. And you're trying to put all these powders in there to make them stop. Well, these Camel City Mill has got you covered. These socks are amazing. These are the only things I've been wearing to work here lately. And I can be out. Like you guys know, I've been doing ride-along training. Mr. Zeke is in here. Mr. Zeke Warner. I've been doing ride-along trainings for him and his amazing company at JC Warner. And I'm out in the field, 100 plus degrees every day. I'm out running service calls, training these guys. So I'm out there putting them to the test. And when I get home, my feet are dry. My boots don't smell like something died inside of them. So if you are interested, I highly suggest. So rather than getting a whole bunch of money, to be honest, for you guys, when this came to sponsorship, I really wanted that discount code so that you guys could get a little bit of a discount. So if you go to their website, camelcitymill.com, and you use the discount code uncensored10, they will give you 10% off of your order. And trust me when I say, try a pair. They have all different colors, sizes. I like the low top one, to be honest, with the boots that I wear, but try a pair. Just buy one pair and it'll be worth it. I promise you that you'll love them. If you don't, let me know. You can send them to me. I'll take them. All right. But all right, make sure you go to Camel City Mill and check out those socks. Next, I'm going to do this live on here. This is my friend, Mr. Alec over at HOMEPROS. I get so much stuff from here because I like to stay updated, obviously, with the podcast and the stuff that I do. I want to stay up to date on all the things that are going on in our industry. Some are more than others, but I love just reading the articles and see what's going on. And this will give it to you twice a week, all of the main things that are going on in our industry. And it's absolutely free. So I'm already signed up for this, but I'm going to go ahead and use one of my emails so that you guys see exactly how this works, that I'm not BSing anybody. So info at HVAC Uncensored.com and just show you exactly how easy this is. Subscribe. You pick exactly what you do. Yeah, I don't know. All of these things. Other. Submit. You're all set. Every Tuesday and Friday, we'll send you an email covering the biggest news impacting the HVAC industry. That's what it is. So when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna put my email in, they're gonna send me a bill," you guys just watch me do it. Okay. All you do is put your email in, and twice a week, you're going to get an email keeping you up to date on the trade. So please go check that out. Like I said, 100% free. It's going to be www.readhomepros.com. All right. Enough paying the bills. Let's get on with the pledge and get on with the show. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States. And thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil Cavey Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. I am your host, Gil Cavey Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday night, another hump night, and another amazing show for everybody. Thank all of you loyal people that are here every week, man. Power has been a huge issue at my new house, man. You know that we love this house, but we've only been here. I settled on this house March 15th, and we have lost power 4 times. And it seems to like to happen on Wednesdays. And so I apologize for it. I try to hold out as long as I possibly can because I don't want to have to cancel shows. But in the same token, I want to be able to give the guest enough time. I don't want to wait till the last minute. So thank you for bearing with me. I am looking into a generator. I'm getting prices on it now. So that's just going to have to be a must. I'm going to have to get a whole home generator. There's no way around it. It's actually storming its butt off right now. I guess we're getting some of the weather from the hurricane that was in Florida, which I hope all my friends in Florida, I hope everybody's okay, your friends and family. And I know it's hitting like South Carolina and Georgia right now. So I hope that everybody in those areas is safe and doing okay. We're just getting a bunch of rain, but I was worried. I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. It's Wednesday. It's pouring down rain. I pray to God that my power does not go out again. So far, so good. So thank you, everybody. I want to let you know that. Just a quick shout out to everybody. Mr. Nasty, what is up, my man? HVAC Rookie, what is up, my brother? Mr. Freon Leon, what is up, my man? Let's see. I know Mr. Sam Andrew was here. What is up, Mr. East Coast? What is up, buddy? Tom Leach, is that how you say it, buddy? Thank you for being here. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Chris, I believe you, buddy. It's definitely time for a Generac generator. Let's see, Mr. Zeke Warner. What is up there, boss man? Like I said, Zeke is the owner of JC Warner, the company that I am doing the coaching and the ride along right now. Been friends with Zeke for years. He's an amazing guy. So I appreciate the opportunity for him letting me do what I'm doing. Reliable, Mr. Adrian. What is up, my man? You guys all know who he is. And I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. But hey, I got an amazing show for you tonight. And I know some of you as technicians that maybe you don't own a business. Sometimes when we get into these financial shows, it gets a little boring for you. And that's okay. But you still need to listen to this. Guys, I can't even tell you how many emails I get in a month span about people wanting to start their own business, and they're asking me questions. Hey, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? And most people are asking me questions about their logo and what brand they should sell. And being realistic, that doesn't mean dick. You shouldn't worry about any of that. Um, Bookkeeping, your accounting should be one of the biggest things that you worry about. And I preach that to people, but I rather have somebody like our guest tonight, who that's what he does. He makes his living helping people in the trades get this right. So rather than me trying to tell you what I know, I rather have an expert on here to be able to explain it. So, guys, without further ado, if you could please help me put your hands together and a warm welcome for the owner of Flow State Accounting, Mr. Thomas O'Neill. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you heard the intro for a little bit, but I guess for everybody out there, let them know a little bit about who Tom O'Neill is.
Yeah. So I have been working in public accounting for the last 6 years, preparing tax returns mostly for smaller businesses. I've done a few other functions in the public accounting firms, but mostly tax prep. And in that time, I saw a lot of really not great bookkeeping work. And that married with me discovering that there's so much amazing software available now to bookkeepers and accountants who are helping small businesses kind of really inspired me to want to get into the ring myself and try to really help an industry I've always loved and kind of regretted not getting into myself, which is the home service business. So that's the start of Flow State.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, how long you been in business? How long have you been doing this?
Yeah, so officially we kind of cut the ribbon about a month ago. So we're pretty new, but yeah, it's in terms of bookkeeping and accounting, I've been doing it for a while, but doing it under my own name now is it's been a month. So
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations, man, for taking that risk. I always tell people you don't know what's going to happen till you try. Anybody who's ever
exactly
succeeded just means they failed more than you did. So,
yeah.
congratulations to you. That's awesome. So let me ask you this: it's from your experience and to what I kind of said in the intro, and we talked off air a little bit about, a lot of. All right, let me back up a little bit. Most, especially in the HVAC industry, most guys who go start their own companies, they're really good technicians. So I try to explain to people that you can be the best technician in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to be a good business owner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a learning, and I'm not saying don't do it. I just try to prepare people for that. I think people, if they're really motivated, should go try to start their own company. Get those benefits. Be your own boss. It's the American dream. But I also want to prepare them. And when it comes to that, like financial stuff, maybe somebody like you could explain the importance of getting the bookkeeping right to set themselves up for success. And sometimes it may not be as hard as you think it is.
Right. Yeah, I think the first step is to really go into it, like you're saying, not with the technician attitude, but with the business owner attitude. And it's kind of maybe a little bit cold to say it, but when you're starting your own business, what you're fundamentally creating for yourself is a financial asset. Okay, from the very beginning, it's a financial asset. And so if you're going to build a good financial asset, you have to know how to measure how well it's performing, measure its health, be able to monitor it for any problems and find efficiencies and ways to make it grow. And so very quickly, like you're saying, getting that grasp on financial know-how and getting your systems in order and getting your ability to oversee what's going on is critical.
Yeah. And I hear too many horror stories. So a lot of people don't realize that most businesses in general, but let's just say the trades, say 10 businesses, 5 of them are probably going to fail within the first year of business. And out of the 5 that's left, 50% of those are going to fail within the first 5 years. That's just a truth of how it works. Owning a business is not easy. If it was, then everybody would do it. But that should not deter you or scare you away from doing it. Just be prepared. That's all that I say. Just be prepared. And God forbid, I've been in failing businesses, but I kept trying, and I eventually got it right. So even if it does fail, don't be afraid. So say I start my own company and I call up your company and I say, I'm newer. I'm just running calls just by myself. When I say, hey, Tom, I just started this company. What should I do to get started? How would you, get me going from there?
Okay. The most important thing you ever do for your finances as a business owner is make your own business bank account. That is the first great blunder a business owner can make. And if you can avoid that, that saves you a lot of problems. Yeah.
I did it with the podcast when I first started it. When I first started making money, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just put it in here." And then my accountant was like, "Gil, what the fuck are you doing, man?" He's like, "Don't do that." I was like, "Okay, my bad. I'm sorry."
Yeah. No, it's really true because you at best you double the amount of work we have to do. At worst, you who knows how much extra work you add. But yeah, and on that, your business account doesn't have to be under your business's name or under an EIN or anything. Just have an account that is the business account. And from, this date on, anything that happens to that account is business. If you just do that, right, probably for the first year of operations, you're probably doing okay. But just make sure to do that.
Oh, so touching on that. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a legit business account. It can be like like for example, USAA doesn't do business accounts. So if I don't bank with them anymore, but if I just opened up another personal checking, but I said this is only stuff related to my business, that would still be okay.
That would be the best thing you could do compared to, again, commingling business and personal transactions. As you progress, depending on what sort of entity your business is, you might have to be much more careful about having things properly under the business EIN and everything. But yeah, if you're going to do anything, just really make sure you get that segregated business account. Because it's a huge mess if you don't do that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like I said, I did that. I was just, I forget what it was I was dealing. I think I still do some billing, but I used to do it through like Square, and I just transfer it in my personal bank account. And I did that for a couple of months, finishing out. I want to say it was like 2018. It's probably like 4 or 5 months. And granted, I wasn't making a buttload of money then, but it's still money, and still Uncle Sam wants their cut. And that's what my tax guy told me. He was just like, "You're a moron." He's like, "No, what are you doing?" He's like, "I thought you knew better than this." Granted, I know him, but he's like, "Yeah, don't do that." And I get the call.
That's a bold tax accountant.
Yeah. He's a friend of the family, but he also calls.
Okay, yeah.
He says, "Hey, buddy, you got to spend money." He's like, "You're either going to pay Uncle Sam or you can get some new stuff for the podcast." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go buy some stuff."
Well, there you go. That's good.
Yeah. So it's crazy. But I guess so just in counting and, I guess like all of us have these kind of mottos or rules that we live by. When it comes to yours, like what are some of the biggest things that you're trying to instill in your clients?
I guess the big thing is make your financial data approachable in one way or another. Make it easy for you to look at on a regular basis and understand. It's like somebody who wants to lose weight. If you're gonna at least step on a scale every week, right? Because you'll probably not get nearly as bad, and you're probably much more likely to improve everything and do a lot better at weight loss if you're at least stepping on the scale every week. It's the same thing with your business. The sooner you can get to the point where you can regularly look at your financial health, you're much more likely to succeed in the long run and grow your business and optimize it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree. And I feel like too many people, and even some that are started, they'll get their monthly, P&L. And for one, they don't know how to read a P&L or a balance sheet, which you got to know how to do if you're running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I want those numbers daily, weekly, because then I know that I can make those adjustments on the fly to be able to change the outcome. If you wait till just the end of the month, the damage is done. It's like, oh, we lost money. I'm like, darn. Well, you can't. Yeah, you can change it for the following month. But especially in our industry, we're a weather-based business. So you can't make that kind of mistake like now in the middle of summer. Especially, you're in the Northeast. It's some of us only have 3 months. Like those 3 months in the summer determine whether you end the year in the green or the red. So you have to make the most out of them. So I agree. I've always been like you got to get those that information, and you have to know what you're looking at, because I didn't. I was a guy who started out as a technician, worked my way up into management, and had to learn that whole business side of it. That wasn't my forte. And when I really started getting good and understanding the numbers, you can look at it and literally tell so many things about your business. You can look at certain information and tell if somebody's stealing. If your hours, labor is way too high in this department, or this department, what's going on here. And I also tell people, and I'll get your take on this, is everybody wants to go, oh, I'm a $10 million company. I'm a $20 million company. Okay, well, how much net profit do you have? I always say I would rather be a $5 million company with 15% net profit than a $10 million company with 5% net profit. Because that $10 million company is probably going to close. They have no cash flow. You know what I mean? At 5% net profit. So I'm just curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, you have to deal with more customers.
Yeah.
No, it's 100% true. The number one KPI you need to be looking at is your net income. And anybody who gets obsessed with the top line and wants to brag based on that, you're kind of, you're not focusing on the right thing. And I 100% agree with you that's much more important. I could start $1 million business tomorrow. Okay. I could go and I could buy, $1 million $1 coins and sell them for 95 cents. Right. And then, I would have a huge top line, but when you get to the net income, the bottom line, it would be a net loss. Right. And so it would mean nothing,
Yeah. And it's just trying to make sure that people understand that. And growth in a company can be, and we were actually talking about this today, can be in two different avenues. I tell people, okay, if you're a $2 million company and you want to go to 5, that's a good goal. But if you don't get to 5 million, but say instead of being a $2 million with a 10% net profit, now you're 2.5 with a 20% net profit, you're still moving in the right direction. You took your revenue up a little bit, maybe you didn't meet the mark, but now you're you're making more of that money. You're getting able to keep it. And that's why I love that whole dollar bill trick when they give to companies where they start tearing little pieces off it. They put it on a board, and you actually see what's left at the end. And you'd be surprised, the company that you work for or the company you have, how little of it actually goes to the owner. And I've always say this: you think they're sitting in their office and they're counting their hundreds and oh man, this is such a good day, wiping it off, when that's sadly not the case.
Yeah, for sure. And any of you techs out there just like looking at how much you're charging customers and saying, "Oh, I could be making that." Watch one of those videos and see how quickly those dollars you just made get torn apart. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely crazy. So, well, let me ask you this: just in starting a business, what are some of the struggles you've had yourself and just getting yours up and running? You know, customer acquisition, obviously it's
Yeah.
accounting.
Yeah. Accounting is fortunately is pretty under control. Yeah, it's especially for me, it's customer acquisition. I guess more so because like pretty much two reasons. The first reason being I'm a backroom guy. I don't get to talk to the customers very often traditionally. I do all the tax prep and do all the calculations and everything. So it's funny to get out there and really try to talk to people and really try to connect to their needs, which is great. I really really like it. But that's sort of a novelty, especially in the accounting industry. And two, traditionally now there's such a shortage of accountants that you really just have to have a pulse and CPA next to your name, and you will get clients. You don't have to be out there, chasing people down.
Yeah, well, and I also know even for like influencers and like social media personalities like myself and some of the people in the chat is when that first like stuff first started happening, some of the accountants like didn't know what to do with some of that stuff.
Hmm.
Um and it was like I guess they eventually started figuring it out. Have you heard that? Like that people like when that kind of stuff first started happening, you weren't sure where to put things in different categories because it wasn't a traditional business, or does that not make sense at all?
Well, actually, that was one of my way back when I was a teenager. One of my first bookkeeping clients was a social media person who I followed, and I like reached out to them on Twitter, DM them because they were asking questions about accounting, and that's how I got them. So it was an interesting process, not only learning how to do the accounting, but also learning how to work with the creative types out there. But it was a fun ride.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I always heard that, and I was like, well, I guess I should make sure that's true before I keep saying it. I'm not just being ignorant, passing around bad information. Um, Somebody had asked in the chat. They said, if I could ask you, which is better for taxes when starting off, incorporated or an LLC?
It really depends. I guess incorporated versus LLC isn't really a tax distinction. So I don't know if they're asking more about an S corp versus a Schedule C. But it really depends on what size you're at. If you want to start on the simplest level, you can start with a Schedule C, and then probably once you're getting more into like a six-figure top line, you might want to consult a tax accountant, especially on whether or not an S corp would make sense for you. But it really depends on a few things.
And it's also how you pay yourself. I don't know if you could,
Right.
if so the most for what we do, you're either going to be an LLC or an S corp for the most part. But it's also different on how you pay yourself as the owner of the business. I don't know if you could go into that and explain it because I know you can do it better than I can as far as them understanding.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're saying LLC in terms of like being just a Schedule C, you're going to be self-employed. So everything you earn will get self-employment tax charged to it. And rather than being able to withhold regularly on what you make versus like a W-2, you have to be able to plan carefully and make scheduled withholding payments. And it's there's not as much wiggle room as you can get with an S corp. So probably long run, if you're looking at growing and becoming, being able to plan really strategically, you're probably going to want to look at an S corp eventually. But you don't have to get too crazy about it if you're still just starting out.
Yeah, and I would, get somebody like Tom or somebody to guide you. It would be my, I followed the guidance of the person who does my taxes, and don't get caught up in the LLC. So this podcast is owned by HVAC Uncensored LLC, but I was technically an S corp at one point. To be honest, I might still be. I don't know. But I know one is versus like taking like draws versus being able to commingle in your personal account, and I forget exactly what the details are. Um, as far as how you take payment as the owner.
Yeah. So when you're in an S corp, you can essentially start to pay yourself as an employee. So you get to issue yourself a W-2 and get certain advantages from that. But there's certain things you have to be careful about. But I think the important thing I would say too is just for the people out there, do realize that an LLC itself is not really doesn't mean anything tax wise. It's really just whether or not you're essentially an S corp or a sole proprietor. And those are like the two major distinctions.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, because somebody else put define the difference between the LLC and the Inc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would essentially be it.
Yeah.
Although an LLC can be an S corp, so it's just yeah.
Yeah, normally incorporated, you're going to see like in bigger businesses for the most part, right? You're not going to see a smaller business incorporated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for a few reasons.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Making sure I didn't miss any questions. So, guys, remember when you do questions, once again, you guys did do this. Make sure you put it in all caps. That way that it draws my attention to it. So, yeah, so I just think, the financial and the accounting part that I noticed when I started to learn more about this in business, it made me better with my personal finances as well. That's why I always say that even when people listen to this and you're a technician, you have no plans on ever starting your own company, still take some of this advice and put it into your personal finances. Because what do they say? What is it? 85% of America lives week to week. And, just try to set yourself up to that doesn't have to happen. And something as little as spend less than you bring in. Because I have friends that I know that between the husband and wife, they'll make $500,000 a year, but they sadly spend $600,000 a year. So they live like they're poor when in the reality, they actually, well, maybe they don't make that much, but you would think you can make that much money, you have a little bit more sense. But
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, very true. Very true. But it's just, thinking about that kind of stuff. So you as an accounting firm, what exactly all would you handle for a business?
Yeah. So essentially what we handle is there's basically two major processes that happen to get from all the financial transactions you do as a business to like knowing what's going on and have that really great bird's eye view of your business activities. And that's, first of all, you take all these financial transactions that you have as a business and you turn them into good data. And that means making sure that the data really reflects what actually happened and has all the qualities that are really important to track things. And then you can take that data and transform it into insights for management. And typically that took the form of financial statements, your P&L, your balance sheet, and cash flow, statement of cash flows. But more and more, I think you kind of touched on this earlier, that when you first used to look at a P&L or something, it's hard to understand. It's not super approachable. So what we really try to do is we take that initial step of the taking the transactions, coding them properly. That's like doing bank reconciliations and all that. We try to make that really, really painless because for the most part, I think a lot of business owners, they find that doing that very, very annoying and painful. And then two, especially taking all the data you then create and turning it into useful information really takes a certain level of expertise, I think. And that's what we really try to provide for our clients. Is we take the pain out of that initial recording of everything, and then we try to make turn the data into something that's very actionable and intuitive for you, so you don't have to learn all the gobbledygook of accounting and how P&Ls are set up per se. Although, like you're saying, if in the long term you want to really understand your business, being able to understand a P&L is a big step up.
Yeah, for sure. I can't explain it. Can you explain exactly what is the bank reconciliation? Like what exactly you're doing in that process?
Yeah, so I hope I can make this sound really exciting. But basically,
numbers, blah. Just kidding.
Yeah. Basically, you record everything that's happening in your business on your side, and then the bank will kind of record what's happening with your cash on their side, and then you make sure every once in a while that the two numbers are meeting, and that, if you entered everything correctly, it should match up to what's going on in your bank statement. But on your side, you're putting a lot more information that's useful to you in all those transactions. So, that there's a lot more chance for mess for you. So always reconciling with the bank account, make sure your data is steady and true and clean.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I know a lot of people, and I know this is what I did when it came to the podcast, is I don't need a CRM like the customer resource manager, like a software to do invoicing. But most people, it's, QuickBooks, like I use QuickBooks for the podcast. I have it on my phone. All my transactions are linked to my business cards. I can take pictures of my receipts and all that kind of stuff. Is that something that you recommend, or is that just kind of the easiest way people are doing, but not, there should be another way?
I mean, that's the quickest way. I'm just finding, especially softwares like HouseCall Pro and Jobber are so full of capabilities that can save you so much time in so many places, and on the accounting side, amongst others, that I would say take a look at them and see if you can get started with those relatively early on, for those reasons. But you can do things directly through QuickBooks.
Yeah, I know they link. I mean, I did it. HouseCall Pro is actually one of my sponsors, and I used it at the last company that I was at running. And I know they do have a bunch of features, but they were still using QuickBooks and just linking it together. But that also got started before HouseCall Pro had a bunch of those, before they really added a bunch of amazing features in their accounting side. But if I had to use, like, I don't really need to send invoices like that. And what I can send right through QuickBooks. But I do agree with you when it comes to that. So you guys out there, if you're starting, know that you can just sign up for a HouseCall Pro and do your accounting side of there. You don't have to pay, for something else. So that's just, rather than getting, 1,000 paper cups by subscription services, you can save a little money there. I do like the ease of use when it comes to QuickBooks, but it's easy for me. It makes the podcast easy. Plus, my accountant can go in there and do all his stuff. I just give him access and he can remote go in. I don't have to worry about it. And he keeps it easy. But obviously, he's a friend. I want somebody that I can trust to be able to do that because, like you said, the good accountants are hard to find. And sadly, I've seen some pretty shitty ones, where like they sound good, but then you're getting these goofy tax bills or like something's not happening. And when you ask them, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's like, what do you mean you don't know what happened? Like, this is what I'm paying you to do. So this is kind of an oddball question, but on your side of it, what is a horror story? Not necessarily you had to be involved in, but you've heard from, say one of the bad accountants out there?
That's a good question.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot. My fault.
Fortunately, I don't carry too many with me. I will say I have 100% met people with CPA next to their name who I wouldn't trust to count to 20. But yeah, I guess the general horror story is that you will see a lot of accountants will just take on client after client after client after client after client. They won't say no to people, and then they'll just be inundated with like, you can come to some accounting firms where it's just like one guy and he's like got like 600 clients. It's insane. And that's not necessarily like a grossly like horrible error that they've made, but it's not setting you up for success. And I guess if you feel like you don't have a good relationship with your accountant, or that you can get a lot of time with them and a lot of consultation from them, I guess that is something to look out for. Because something like you hit on earlier, where your buddy was able to come in and say, hey, you should spend some money here. You get your tax bill down. That doesn't happen very often with a lot of tax accountants. They don't do that. They just want you to send them their stuff come March. They are not planning with their clients, about year end, trying to get that tax bill down. So if you can get hooked up with like a tax planning tax accountant, that's way undervalued these days, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just knowing that they're versatile. So just like he's saying, and I guess Tom, I'll let you go into this, like, not all accountants are created equally or the same. There's different kinds of accountants.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess this is something I wanted to ask. So when somebody like us is calling to, inquire about an accountant, how do we know that they're a good one? Like, what are some questions that you recommend that we ask these people to, see if they're going to be able to fulfill our needs?
I would ask them what sort of planning they do for clients. I think that's a good question, because that immediately cuts to the core of, do they really care about, making sure their clients are saving on taxes and they're not just a bean counter trying to just file your taxes for you and get you out the door. Yeah, I'd have to think, what are other great questions for them. Ask them how many clients they have as is. Because if it's just one guy, again, and he's got like 1 million clients, the likelihood that you're going to get the care and attention that you need kind of goes down. The more they have to service, you're out. The more they're spread thin. But yeah, I think those are probably two at least good starting questions.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I always like to ask, what is my access to you? Can I call you if I have a question? How many scheduled meetings do we have so I can, know what's going on? Like those kind of things. I want to be able to have access and ask questions, especially sometimes this stuff isn't cheap. And I agree that you get what you pay for. So I will never devalue somebody's time, especially if I'm getting what I want out of said, task or whatever it is. But I do, when I have a question or something happens, I want to be able to get it answered in a timely manner. So if I call that person, I call my accountant and they're like, oh, he's busy, he's in a meeting. I get it. That's fine. But I should hear with you within 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be 2 weeks later and I'm calling back because I haven't heard from you. Like, that's the kind of stuff that, would frustrate me. Like, hey man, this is kind of important. Like, what if the question I was asking you was like a right now I needed an answer. I get that you're busy and I couldn't get that. So that's a big thing, is the availability to me or my staff.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is it's a really good sign if your accountant is asking you questions a lot as well. That's the really big step, because it's one thing to know the answers, but it's another thing to know the right questions. And that's really, I think, where traditionally accountants can kind of fall short, because they don't take the time to really look after their clients as though they are a co-pilot with the client, and really trying to look after them regularly and check that everything's copacetic.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: at what size or revenue, or for you, what would determine getting an in-house accountant versus like being a one-man band and I'm using someone like you to be my accountant, which obviously is, outsourcing it. But when a company gets to a certain blah, it makes sense to, maybe have an in-house accountant. Does that question even make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, it really depends on kind of how you run your business, and it depends on a few things. Because I mean, the way I've designed our stuff is to actually be able to ride along with you for quite a while, in terms of your growth trajectory. But yeah, I would say definitely once you're in the 8-figure territory, that's when we can start asking the question of, should we get an in-house bookkeeper? 7-figure, you can do it. I don't think it's necessary, and I think it's maybe a little too early compared to somebody like me. But it really depends if you have a good bookkeeper at your disposal, and what your particular situation is.
No, that makes good sense. Um, yeah, man, I think I got this giant clock. Time goes by so fast. So I guess when it comes to the accounting side, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think that we should get into this episode? Maybe a question I didn't ask.
Um, let's see. Yeah, I guess there's nothing like super particular that we haven't covered. I would just say again, it's one of those things that the earlier you start doing the right thing, the more likely you are to grow faster and optimize your operations, and make your business more of a joy to run. And if you really find your bookkeeping is either a kind of like a pain in the butt, and kind of like stealing energy and time away from you, I would definitely start thinking about handing it off to somebody else, like someone like me, maybe, to take care of that for you. Or if you just feel like you don't know what's going on with your business, you really don't feel like you have a grasp on how everything's running. Those are both signs that you might want to get somebody else involved, because with it's kind of like plumbing is a great sort of metaphor for it. It's very similar. It's If you're going to do your own plumbing, it's got a huge learning curve. You got to have the right tools. You got to have the right experience, and it's going to be really messy. And you're better off just having somebody who knows what they're doing with all the tools and the experience to come in and help you and set it up for you. It's kind of the same thing with bookkeeping, that relatively early on, if you can get somebody who's knowledgeable to help you set things up and start actually running things day to day, that can take a whole load off of your mind and keep you from wasting a bunch of time doing your books. Because I will say, if you're wasting a lot of time and energy on your books, that's probably not the best use of your time, right? Your time is very valuable. And if you find like it's just such a pain in the butt and it's just taking so much energy and makes you feel really down and it feels really boring, because it kind of is, that might be the sign that it's time to hand that function off to somebody else. So you could take those hours you would have spent, clunking away on QuickBooks and put those on the field, put those out, doing what you do best and getting the most for your time. So yeah.
Yeah. And I would tell people when you're starting a company, outsource accounting immediately if you can afford to do it.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Yeah, just because you're going to have so many headaches, learning curves. Don't let that be one of them. Take that stress off of you. Let somebody who's good at it, who likes doing it, because you don't want to be running calls all day. Now you're coming home, going to your invoices. Now you're trying to do the accounting stuff when you're already dog tired. Don't do that to yourself. If I could give you any advice, don't do that to yourself unless you can't afford an accountant. But unless you have like a friend or family that's an accountant, which I don't know if that's a good idea either. I don't like mixing those things together, but I would 100% give that out, because I've just seen too many stories. Mr. Zeke said, departmentalized, which that is very true. So if anybody's got any questions real fast, go ahead and ask them. Because we're going to get ready to close this out. Damn it, I had a question I wanted to ask you real fast before we close this out, and now I can't remember what the hell it was.
Can I say one thing?
See, somebody asked this question before, and at first I thought it was like there's no such thing as a dumb question, but they asked when they get an accountant, does it make a difference if that accountant is in their state? And I told them no, that shouldn't matter, should it?
It depends. If it depends on a few factors. The main upside of having an accountant in your state is that if you have any sort of income tax or weird sort of business tax law, they're much more likely to be very familiar with it. But if you go to an accountant in a neighboring state, or even like, your local sector of the U.S., there's probably a chance they'll be knowledgeable on it. But it really depends on the size of the firm you're encountering, and I wouldn't filter out I wouldn't filter out a good accountant just because they're not local to you. If you find a really, really good person who knows your industry or is very proactive and is obviously a good, energetic accountant, I wouldn't necessarily fire them or, sidestep them just because they're not in your state.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I figured that's a question I'd ask you because I didn't want to. I try to be careful when I answer those questions if I don't know 100% the answer, because I don't want to guide somebody in the wrong direction and then be like, oh, well, Gil said, But I guess before we end this out, man, obviously with you starting this, being in accounting for years, but now starting your own firm, how can people find you, man? If people are out there looking that they need somebody and they hear you on this show, man, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can get me at my website. It's flowstateaccounting.com. I'm also on Twitter /X at FlowStateBooks. But yeah, send me a DM on Twitter, or get on our website. There's a call link, or you can email me toneil@flowstateaccounting.com.
Cool. And I will, when this audio goes out, I will make sure that all of those links are in there so that you can just click on them in case you want to get a hold of Tom. So, Tom, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. We got to keep these an hour. They start getting too long. People stop listening, but it goes by so fast. But I really want to appreciate you coming on and covering this topic because it's very important, especially to help answer the questions for these people trying to start their own business. I know it's already scary, so that way we can try to take some of the allure, or not the allure, the scariness off of, the accounting side. And I also wish you nothing but the best in taking the risk and starting your own thing, man. I hope that I can get you back on in a year from now and you're like, yeah, man, I got, 100 clients, 200 clients, or whatever it is.
Yeah, my goal is to be in a hot tub next time we talk. So,
hey, that's fine, because I'll probably be in the back with no pants on or something. You got lucky tonight.
Oh, that sounds great. That's going to get the audience excited. Tune in next.
All of them think I don't wear pants anyway because they only see it from the good stuff. So I have to randomly stand up sometimes. But yeah, man, you have my information, my email. Please stay in touch. You're more than welcome to come on anytime and address this conversation. And if anybody asks me for recommendations, I will be more than happy to throw you out there, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gil. I really appreciate it.
Yep. My pleasure, man. Have a great one. If you want to hang tight, I'm going to go ahead and start closing this out. Well, everybody, thank you. I know a bunch of you in here. Some of you are business owners. Some of you are not. I hope that all the people who email me about this topic, I'm going to give you the link to this so you can answer some questions, or you can reach out to Tom and ask him those questions yourself. I am far from an accountant. I know enough to be dangerous. That's about it. Does Gil? No, I got sandals on and I have shorts on. Kinda. Make sure I show my shorts. Even though, speaking of those socks, I found some underwear too, man. I had a company called, what are they called? Walton and something. Hold on. I forget the name. But hey, man, I'm trying to take care of your fungi toe And I don't know. I'm going to work something out with this underwear company. I might be able to finally cure swamp ass. So I'm making moves out here. I'm thinking about you guys. Okay. So socks, underwear, I'm exactly. I'm trying to get you a boxer. No, these are shorts, man. They're not boxers. Ding dong. But anyway, let me start to close this out, man. Thank all you guys for being so patient. I apologize about the power outages and messing things up. I got a bunch of amazing shows. Just so a lot of you know, I have one of my favorite people in the world to interview next week is going to be Mr. Tommy Mello is coming back on. I love Tommy. For a guy who is a gazillionaire, he is strong in his Christian beliefs. He is down to earth. And I just love everything about Tommy. So whenever he comes on, bring a notepad and a pen because the guy is extremely smart and he's built, one of the biggest garage door businesses in the world. So he's somebody that you definitely want to take advice from. So don't forget about that. All right. He will be here next week. Got some amazing shows coming up. But that being said, make sure you follow the podcast on all the social media sites to stay up to date on everything that I have going on. And yeah, that's about it. If you wouldn't mind, wherever you listen to the audio podcast, make sure you download it. But also, please, if you wouldn't mind going to give me a 5-star review, I got to get those reviews up so we can start getting this out to more and more people. If it's not a 5-star review, I'd rather you email me, info@HVACuncensored.com. And as long as you're not an ass, let me know what you think, how I can make it better. You guys are my end user, my customers, so I take what you say. But if you start off being an ass, I'll never read that email. All right. So, all right. With that being said, remember, guys, keep your head on a swivel. We live in a dangerous world. All right. I want you to make it home the same way that you left. And that's driving, the breaker, working around metal, whatever it is. Please, please just be careful. Make sure you're staying hydrated out there. All right. Stop this macho stuff where you feel like you got to suck this up or do this. That person's AC working is not more important than your life and you making it home to your family. All right. So please, please be careful. Don't be out there getting hurt. I want you to make it home the same way that you left. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. Nowadays, there's no reason to say that I don't know. We have so much information at our fingertips. Keep trying to be the best version of yourself. All right. Whether that is work, trying to be better, stay up to date on some of the latest things that are happening. Or it's, and I agree, stay strapped or get clapped. I believe that, Chris. Personal things, whatever it is, there's no such thing as staying the same. You're either getting worse or you're getting better. All right. Keep making yourself better, stay motivated, stay hungry, and just keep being the best version of you. All right. With that being said, man, I love you, mofos, and I'll talk to you all next week. All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
See ya.